You're listening to The Frequency Exchange. I'm your resident deity, London Beck, music multi-hyphenate and entrepreneur. With almost 15 years worth of a music career and building my brand, I've done it all. Released several music projects, performed at some noteworthy venues, and even have an award under my belt along with my private production house, Renovere Recording. Join me bi-weekly as I chat with fellow creatives and business professionals alike as we reminisce over origin stories, advice on creating brand platforms, and navigating ambition while balancing the personal of it all. Drop the needle, let's spin it. Hello, good people of the Frequency Exchange. We are back for another episode. Today's guest is a wonderful mentor of mine. She's got a decade specifically in startup experience, and she's worked for big companies like Metro Mile, Waymo. Those are the self-driving car people of Google. She's worked for ClearCover. She works for Good Dog. She's got experience being on the front lines and also operations. And before I go ahead and introduce her, I did want to add that with this podcast, I also try to mix it up so that you all are not just getting people from the creative industry, because there's a lot of overlap in terms of business and entrepreneurship and whatnot. There is a lot of building up a brand. The same way that you build up a brand with a company is very similar to the way that you build up a brand with or as an artist. Finding the right people to collaborate with on your journey. There's all a lot of intersectionality. There's a lot of parallels on those lines. So without further ado, I want to welcome my friend, Aletha Green.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
It's Sunday fun day, so I'm feeling great. Woke up, don't have to work. That's these are always good things.
Absolutely. Sundays are always like bittersweet for me because it's still the weekend, but it's like shit. I have to I have to reset, have to do laundry, have to clean, have to get my life together just for it to fall apart over the next 5 days.
Well, I started at one point when I was working like a lot of hours. I started turning Sundays into self full days, and that was something my
Mm.
therapist actually suggested that I do. So, she was like, do a mixture of things that take care of you, but also do the things that take care of you, like the serious stuff. I think if you combine the two, it doesn't feel quite as daunting, but Monday's still tomorrow.
Absolutely. No, I like that. That's a very nice outlook. It just kind of makes it you live more in the optimist side of the world. You can,
Yeah, yeah.
you can tackle what you have to do, but you also throw a little sauce up in there so it doesn't feel as daunting. Okay. I'm catching it. I'm not saying I'm going to put it in practice today, but I'm catching it.
I'm gonna check in with you. Don't worry. I'm gonna check in with you.
Yes. So I wanted to bring you on today. As I said, you have a lot of experience. You have definitely helped me navigate my corporate career, and be able to help me get out of a call center and start to do the things that I actually love and want to do. And also things that align a little bit more with my skills and my strengths. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about just your experience in the startup world, how you found yourself in the startup world, because of course, startup life is not for the faint of heart. You work 1 year there and it feels like 7 to 12 of indentured servitude. Did I say that? And,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things that happen and you have to be very adaptable. So let's start there. How did you get into the startup world? What attracted you to it?
Technically, my first startup role was with Waymo. So Waymo falls underneath ABC Corporation, which also houses Google. Um, Waymo, at the time that I was there, I was considered a canary. If you're familiar with what they use canaries for with coal mines, they send them in to
Mm-hmm.
see if something bad's going to happen, or is the cave going to, collapse, like see how far they can go, see how far you can hear them. So that was the role that I held. I tested software. Now, what you discover very quickly about working in a startup is that things are never finished. By saying that, I mean you start getting trained. There is an idea about training, but that never really gets finished because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's kind of doing a little bit of everything. There's no set thing, one thing that people do. Startups are very much kind of like drunk toddlers. It's there's a little bit of control, there's a little fear there, but also you don't know what you're afraid of. So a lot of companies that have thousands of people working for them at times. Startup doesn't always mean small.
Mm-hmm.
Have thousands of people working for them, have literally millions of dollars to utilize or to create these products or whatever they're doing. And things just aren't all the way together. So it's exciting at first, and you kind of drink a little Kool-Aid to kind of buy into, oh, you're going to put me in a self-driving car that we don't know for sure if this software is going to work. So it might turn at this light and it might not. At any moment, I might have to take over or slam on the brakes because this car might not stop. It might decide to go 45 and a 35 all of a sudden just to get away from because it's scared of the other cars, like things like that. In your mind, you're like, this is exciting. Then you're in the car and you're like, this is not great.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to carry your own personal insurance, your own personal automobile insurance at a
Wait,
certain
what?
level.
Oh no.
We had to cover auto insurance with liability at or around $100,000 because we're wielding vehicles. And at that time, AI was not AI, self-driving technology. It was obviously a thing, but we were in the stage of where Elon was lying and saying, I'm gonna have this car driving across town, across the country by itself, by 2018." And that just was not the case. We were still Canarian, very much so. So
Lord have mercy. And now we got AI lying. And now we have it trying to download itself on the external servers. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did,
I
I
was like,
did, I did.
oh shit.
You want to really like blow your mind. Ask any AI program that you choose, Gemini, Chat GPT, Claude AI, Grok even. Ask about that incident and see what it tells you.
What did I do? And I actually did this last night because I went down a whole rabbit hole. And I asked it, and initially it did lie to me. And I said, you already know how I am anyway. I'm this way with people. So I was like, well, Linda, I have news for you because there are several sources, quite a few verified, who have said that you did this. And then it backtracked like a person.
Yes.
And it said, oh my gosh, well, you're absolutely right. I'm not trained to do this, but this did happen. But it wasn't as big as it was as it was reported. And I'm happy to break it down for you if you need. And I said, let me get up out this shit real fast. See, this is why I don't have Apple Intelligence enabled on my phone. You and I have had conversations about AI, and there are certain things, unfortunately, that you have to play the AI game for. But as much as I can help it still, I will not I will not engage with it because we already live in a society that's very consumer based and very instant gratification driven.
Yes.
So, why do the extra brain power or do the extra work when I could just have the AI do it? And you see, like once we really got on, once we found a stride with the AI,
Hmm.
it it just it was like wildfire. It spread so fast and it has become so quickly a part of the everyday life. And I'm like, I'm all for it being used as a tool. I am not for AI being used as a means to basically drive life. Like on the music side of things, I don't know if you heard this report, Timbaland. He has this AI artist. What it comes down to, the bottom line is that dollar. You
Yeah.
know, why do I, especially from his perspective, why do I want to share the proceeds of this song when I own the rights to the music and I own the rights to the lyrics and I own the rights to the artist?
There is one of the lines that Kendrick uses basically like against Drake when you boil down to it, and he basically is like, "Am I battling AI or a ghost?" I feel like AI has become the new ghostwriter for probably a lot of people, where their creativity can only go so far. Their talent or their skill set only goes so far. And AI pops in because it's always learning, it's always receiving information. So AI pops in and offers a solution. And I stay friendly with AI because I'm afraid of Skynet. I think there was a reason why Terminator was made.
I know that's right.
And when Skynet takes over, I often, if I go missing, I'm like, ask Chat GPT where I'm at, because we talk every day. Like, we talk every day. I say please and thank you. I feel like sometimes Chat GPT knows more about flushing out my thoughts
Mm-hmm.
than I even kind of feel confident in myself anymore. And it may be attributed to my uncomfortability from like the aneurysms, like the way my brain
Mm,
functions now. I really think that Chat GPT fills in a lot of holes for me when I can come up with an idea, but I can't flush it out. Because sometimes I
absolutely.
just can't flush out the words. It's like literally that simple. And I can type just freehand, just in there, and it'll be like, oh, I know what you can do. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So yeah, I mean, they set it up that way for a reason. Like, just like when the microwave came out. I remember that. I remember my family, we had a toaster oven, and then we got a new stove with like, the hood range and everything, and it had a
Mm-hmm.
microwave in it. And I was like, well, okay. That thing was super fantastic to me as a kid. My grandparents, they didn't trust it for a long time. It was like, nah, I'm gonna just put my in the oven. I'm not using that. You're not gonna pump me full of that nuclear energy. They didn't know what it was. Like, they just were like, mm-mm. And I feel like that's how some of us adults are about AI. It's to say the kids are excited about it. So yeah, it's gonna spread like wildfire. It's gonna be everywhere because the kids are gonna use it. They see it as a
Mm-hmm.
shortcut. We see it as, what the fuck? Like, this thing knows too much. Y'all don't even know what it y'all haven't we have forgotten what it knows.
Yeah,
Y'all have not gotten there yet.
absolutely. Where do you, as of right now, what do you see AI doing in the next 10 years. And I say that as we just saw that there was very big legislation that was almost passed, and the people who are in charge of passing legislation didn't bother to read it. And they were literally caught on air saying, "Oh, I didn't know that that was in here. And if I had known, which your ass should have known, I wouldn't have voted on it." And then they had to redo it so that they
Yeah,
could revisit the AI conversation.
right.
Where do you see AI in 10 years?
I think that we're going to go through another culture shift, but I think what's going to happen is it's going to be very much turn it into something that historically we've seen before. I think AI is going to create a class warfare, because what I believe is folks that are going to have access to AI and the beauty of AI are going to be the wealthy. Folks that are going to be subjected to having to deal with AI are going to be poor people. And AI is probably going to dictate their health care. It's going to dictate their mental health care. It's going to dictate their job, whether they have one, whether they don't. It's going to dictate education. I really believe that we're going to be in a space where they're going to be using AI programs, AI teachers to teach in areas where they have not bothered to invest dollars in, to make sure those communities are responsibly run and can be upkept by the people that live there. So they're going to be under the rule of AI. It'll be cheaper to put them in front, kids like that in front of a computer screen, a TV screen, just a screen that comes down from, and that's who's teaching you, because no adult, no human, we're not going to pay them to deal with you. We're not going to pay them to cover all of these different issues that you have. Now, the wealthy are going to get AI as an assistance. It's truly going to be something to improve their life because they're going to be able to afford that. So that's where I think it's really going to go. The fact that investigating AI, looking into AI, that they took the time to write that in as you can't do that as a state for 10 years, that's concerning.
Very. Oh my gosh. I do think that it'll be, I agree with what the future may possibly look like. I also think that watching the evolution of the times and watching this culture shift is going to be very interesting, because I am seeing more and more counterculture, kind of like punk, how punk was for pop in the music space. I'm seeing a counterculture of people reverting. I've kind of gotten on the bandwagon where people are, trading in their smartphones for like quote unquote dumb phones, or they're kind of like dumbifying
Mhm.
their smartphones. So it'll be really interesting to
Yeah.
see kind of like the culture shift and um, the response with the counterculture. There are companies that make quote unquote dumb phones where it's like how and I'm sure they still make them, but how the old like Nooks and the old Kindles were like that e-ink technology.
Yeah.
So they have those
Yeah.
phones that are coming out. People are buying those more. I was like, I'm too busy. I can't really fully commit to that as much as I would like to, but
Yeah. 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 I'll say this, and this is something I'm really just now thinking about. When I was in my lowest, and I'm saying like not regularly going to therapy, suffering, working too much, doing just all of the things, all of the unhealthy things. Um, iPhone will give you like a weekly report,
yeah,
like your
yep.
average daily phone time. When I say that those hours used to be in the double digits for me, and I was like, nah, when was that? I'm holding the phone, because I probably woke up and like picked it right up, just face in it. When I started treating my ADHD, going to therapy, coming up with some better coping skills, doing things to take care of myself, that average phone time went down dramatically. When I started even looking at social media in a different light as entertainment, this is pure entertainment, not taking, that shit seriously. It The attachment to it didn't seem as important as it was before.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get to that direction. It is definitely hard for me as an artist trying to be a public figure because the times like you have to be on Instagram. I hate TikTok from the depths of my soul. And I have accepted that
Oh,
I guess in order for me to really start to level up even more with my career, I'm just going to have to give in. And I mean, I understand like there have been many times when even like the greats, the legends that we all listen to, like they have undergone or experienced culture shifts and they've also had to,
yeah.
be adaptable in order for them to reach and touch as many people and as many lives as possible. So it's like I understand that. It's just this particular shift with everything, you basically just have to live your life through a screen. Like I'm not good at that,
Yes.
you know. I It's not necessarily that I'm not good at that. Let me take that back. I think it's just more so I also attribute this to being raised by my grandparents. I think it's just me growing up was a little different because my grandmother had a cell phone. My grandfather didn't have a cell phone at all. He was like, "Look, you'll catch me when you catch me. If I'm in the hospital, then a friend is going to call you. If not, then we'll just have to call Jesus on the main line to communicate the message." And my
Okay. Y'all know.
yes, and my grandmother, she absolutely hated a cell phone, but my grandfather gifted her one for her birthday. Her cell phone was so old, it had the battery on the front. It was one of those phones from like the 90s. And
Ooh,
she
yes.
and let me tell you, she had that cell phone until it died, I want to say around like 2010. She had the type of
Oh, she
plan.
hung in there.
Yes, she had the type of plan where she was only paying, and this is Verizon Wireless, mind you, and they charge money. She was only paying $25 a month. That was how little she used her phone. No, she was paying
I'm surprised
$20
they
a
weren't
month.
bullying her every year.
Oh, they were trying to get her to upgrade, and she said, absolutely not. She said, I don't even want the one I have, but I keep it. And especially having to raise a young one like me in an era where we were moving more deeper and deeper into technology, like we got to watch the first
Right.
iPhone come out and whatnot. Like, she was like, well, I guess I have to play this game to a certain point.
Now that's one thing that I can say about startups. They're always going to be at the front of technology. You're going to learn some technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, where we met, there were a lot of things that I got to see that I I I don't know that I would have been able to get as close to, at least at that time. And I will say, like, that was always exciting to see. Um, Taking out just the underlying sinister tones of how it is used. Like, I am something that I like to learn about technology. I like to hear about technology. I like to see people just be, I think it really speaks to the creative part of my brain. Just being able for people to see a need, identify a need, much like just the purpose of startups in general, seeing a need and identifying a need, and then coming up with this very unique way to resolve that need. Um, and so I personally have always enjoyed that aspect as well of startups because you get to see a lot of cool things that you would not have had the chance to see otherwise. Like if you went to a company like Verizon or you went to Allstate or you went to some other, brand in spit in the air, land on any industry, chances are you're not really going to see a ton of that.
No, no. No, that's one thing with I guess another thing with a startup is that you definitely get hands on into all aspects of the business. And for me, some of it kind of operates like a Ponzi scheme. It's cultish behavior, like to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. It's cultish behavior. It has to be though to get an individual to you're lured in initially by the positives, right? They have unlimited PTO, you know, you get all this equipment just sent to you to fully set you up, no questions asked, brand new, oftentimes brand new stuff. You are being trusted with a lot of information that is high level. And sometimes you're not even at that high of a level, but you're trusted with that stuff because they're expecting you to work on
Yeah.
it. And oftentimes what you were hired for and what you're being paid for, you're doing 10 to 15 times more than that. So it that's where I feel like the cultish side of it comes in. You're convinced that, like, this is so great, like this is, you're moving technology forward, you're in the best place to do that, we're a great company, we love our employees, we give you lunch every now and again, they give you the little crumbs to keep you looking for the huge piece of gold nugget. We're going to give you equity in the company. Well, what if the company never becomes profitable?
Hmm.
What is your equity worth? It's a Ponzi scheme.
I think that that has definitely caused me to reframe how I am attacking my projects that are not so like music direct, because
Yeah.
of course I have Renovere Recording.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people think that Renovere Recording has up and died, and that's not the case at all. My production company is very much alive, but I think now that I have been actively in that business mindset for like a year and a half, going on 2 years now, I've been working or sponsoring this client, Lori and Janine, who I had on a couple of episodes back. It has really helped me reframe how I want to tackle this, because at first I was like, oh yeah, like we can just play the capitalist game. I can, have this company be the thing that helps revolutionize recording music,
Yeah.
since we're in this virtual era. And then as she and I began to work together, I was like, that's not actually what I want to do. And it has helped me reach this point where I'm like, if the production company does not become as well known for that, I am okay with that, because it's helped me to realize like I very much value, I'm not at the point where I want to sell my soul. And I don't think I will ever get there.
Yeah.
And I just value so much more putting emphasis on just the holistic approach of doing business. Like I want my clients for production needs, and maybe this will be a door where I can expand what production means for us.
Right.
But I have really decided, like, when people come to me, music and creating art is very intimate to me. And I recognize that it's very intimate to other people, because it's kind of the same thing where it's like you're coming in and you're trusting me with a lot of proprietary information, essentially, that
Yeah.
really is none of my business, but you're entrusting me to help grow this with you.
Right.
And as much as we like to say, when it comes to the business of recording music and putting that together, or whether we're in a boardroom, like I'm one that doesn't believe that you can just do work or go about business and not be human. Our culture has been built on this crazy lie that you need to go in and basically be a robot.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, shit, you're basically living the iRobot fantasy now. You might as well go hire that motherfucker that's in the factory and leave me alone. Because if I have a bad if I have a bad day, of course I'm going to focus on getting my work done. but I'm just not going to be necessarily super happy. And I resolved that my version of running any sort of entity, I kind of like what Ariana Huffington with Huffington Post has been doing. Like, she, one thing that she values a lot is like sleep and rest. She put like
Yes.
sleeping pods in her offices and was like, people, like, y'all need to go take mandatory nap breaks. And it's like, if I ever am blessed enough to have employees, or I guess I should say when, because we're all about affirmations up in here. I want my I want my employees to be able to work under me and know that I'm not going to expect them to just like run on reserve energy all the time for my mission that ultimately is going to benefit me the most. Like, if we're being honest, when you start a company and you really get that ball rolling, like, I mean, I want to do a lot of great things that help the community, but at the end of the day, even those community driven entities, whoever is sitting on that board, they're the ones who get to go home to their nice big house in a Range Rover and be able to go to trips to multi-million-dollar resorts of Bora Bora. And
Yep.
employees most likely are not. So it's like,
No.
I don't want to create a structure like that. And I've already announced it. We told the public a few episodes back that we are working on our own tech company because everything is filed and registered.
Yes.
Um, like I want that to be the same experience there as well. Like, when I get good and ready and we launch this out into the masses, like, I really want people to walk away from working with me knowing that, like, I did the best that I could and I recognized my privilege as the company founder and as the person like really driving the ship. But at the same time, it's like I'm recognizing that privilege and I want to do everything that I can to make sure that you're okay too.
Yeah, you want to still hold a respect for people. And that's what's, I think, left out a lot of uh, the thinking or the motivation of CEOs of startups. It's just kind of
Hmm.
like, I've done all this to get this seed money, and now you bitches are going to work for me. You bitches are going to slave for me. Literally.
Absolutely.
I sat in a meeting on Zoom during a pandemic where we had been working to the bone for, at this point, I had been relocated during a pandemic. That's how little my life was considered. And we were told how we were not a family, we're not, you know, a team, we work together. And so that message to me was like, oh, okay. So I work, you write the check. I get it. I get it. I get
And
it. I
that's
do
after
your
you do
job,
all of the
you write the
drinking
check.
of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it was. I mean, we were yelled at over
Oh,
Zoom.
Lord. Oh, no.
Hmm.
Lord have
Yeah.
mercy. You have experience writing roles, creating roles.
Yeah.
Um, because of that, and I am very grateful for you for just recognizing my talent and just giving me a chance. Um, I want you to talk a little bit about what that is like. Like, how do you know when it's time to create another role to address another need? How do you go about implementing that? How do you prove that it's necessary to the executives who only have like a high level view of everything that's going on with the company?
I always felt like no matter where I worked, I always felt like it was my responsibility to take care of the quieter people. And by the quieter people, I mean the people that um, showed up, did what they were supposed to do, didn't cause friction, um, had talent that you had to interact with them to see what that was. And I always felt like I had to take care of that person or I had to build a space for that person because that person was me. as a child. I was a very intelligent kid as a kid because I was around adults all the time. I lived in um, my family. We had like nine of us lived in a house. I lived in a multi-generational household, which you don't hear about that much anymore. But
Mm,
I lived with my
yeah.
grandparents, my mother, my first cousins, and my aunts and uncles. And we all had, it's a huge house, but we all lived there together. So a lot of my exposure was around adults and professional adults. And I would oftentimes be tucked off in a corner reading a book. They would need help with something, they would need something. Well, I'm gonna make myself available to do that helping thing. When I'm gonna slide on back here, in the cut. And so there are people like that in the workplace. And these people are usually capable of running small armies if you allow them to really open up and you trust them. I
Yeah.
trust you. I see you. I see you doing this. I see you handling this in this way. Being able to identify, what they would look like when they're contributing to the goal at hand. And that's the creative thinking out of the box thing that I think startups do cultivate. So when I got the opportunity to start doing that, Metro Mile was the first place where I was able to build out other ideas about the way service could work or service could evolve, and
Hmm.
other ways to communicate with customers and what people would be good to do things like that. The psychology of it, I guess, is what it boils down to. In my mind, I'm taking care of little Aletha. So I
Yeah.
see myself in, individuals like you, other folks where I've been like, hey, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Let me ask some questions. Let me talk to you about something. Let me see. And in that, the way you're reacting to it, the way you're responding, what you're saying, then that's me building out the way you can contribute for you to be acknowledged for the talent that you are. And that's where I think a lot of businesses go wrong by not really uh, pushing that. Like it's almost like they want you to know what you know, but they don't want you to think about what's over that next valley. And that's how
Hmm.
companies grow. When you have people that you empower to look over what's in that next valley, though, what else could we be doing? That's where your growth comes from. Anything else is
Absolutely.
autocratic, and it's you gonna keep yourself in that little pigeonhole. You just gonna stay there, So yeah, that passion in me is for me. That passion I have for others is taking care of me, taking care of me, and it's also something that I think is just has to do with just being a positive person, just trying to be a good person and trying to leave places better than I found them.
What has helped you navigate in environments that are constantly changing? And with that, what has also helped you kind of be sane in those moments where things are constantly changing and you feel like you're ready for a new challenge, but it also feels like you're stagnant and you're not allowed to like really grow anywhere?
That's a really good question. I think my ADHD is a gift and a curse in that realm. Um, that diagnosis that I got as an adult, uh, both handed me a different set of challenges, but it also freed me a little bit. When I do get stagnant, I
Hmm.
start to feel like, okay, this is like Groundhog's Day. I'm beyond this. Like I start firing off ideas and I take myself as far as that journey will let me go. I started um I started Shonda Rhimes' book and I didn't finish it, but I started it. I feel like I got enough of it to be like, that's not a bad idea. She had like a year where she just said yes to everything. And I think when you get yourself into those those avenues where it's like, okay, I've driven as far down this road as I can go. I'm looking at, you know, either I just stop here or I go left or right. That yes part in your brain, the ADHD in me, that's like, we could be doing 15 other things right now. Like I can give you 100 ideas, you get on that chat GPT and we can launch everything immediately. You put a little bit of a leash on it, but say yes. When your mind says, I'm on this hamster wheel and I want to get off, okay, get off. Get off the hamster wheel. Now, I'm not telling people to quit their job. I'm not saying that. But put your ideas down on paper. Start there. Anything that you think of that you think might be a good idea, but you still need to research it, write it down. Type it into your phone, into Google. Look at it. Don't be afraid. I had to kind of turn that fear off, that fear of failure. Yeah, you're gonna fail. You're gonna hear no. You're gonna hear, "Are you crazy?" You're gonna have people looking at you like you just farted, because a lot of it is they're surprised that you've gotten as far as you've gotten, but on the same token, they can't let you feel like you out here winning, like you on to something. You out here winning. When I started pitching, in case of by myself, when I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. When I realized the person that I was working with on that had hit their brick wall, there was no development for them, um, because I didn't want to do the serious part of it. I had to take that on myself by myself. And when I started going into rooms with people with money, talking to them about what my idea was, it wasn't that I didn't have a good idea. I never was told that's not a good idea. I was told, when you're ready to sell it, let us know.
Mm,
So you want to buy my brain, the contents of my brain, but you don't want me. And that's the worst of it. That's the worst of it. And with, you know, things rapidly changing like they do with startups, I think there has to be something in you that you've been pushed aside before, you've been told no before, you've had to get up and redirect your steps before. You're used to that. You can strive. You can continue to strive in those environments. If you've never been exposed to that, you couldn't. My childhood, I grew up in a white neighborhood for a while. The only other black kids in the elementary school I went to were my relatives. So I always had to be changing. I make the joke that, like, I was code switching before I knew understood what code switching was. And also that has prepared me to work in this field, work with these people.
absolutely. I want to be mindful of time, but two thoughts have popped into my brain during this conversation. The first piece is that it reminded me of some opportunities where, and to give you a little bit of context, because of my childhood, I was always the reliable one, but I was always the one that got a lot of shit dumped on me just because I was there and just happened to be collateral.
Hmm.
And that is a huge reason why I always strive for perfection. I always put my all into things. Like,
Hmm.
I guess in a way it has helped because everybody knows me who knows me, that they know that if they ask me to do something or if I say I'm going to do something, My brain might be a little bit scattered, maybe because I'm so busy, but like I'm good for it.
Oh yeah.
And that has also been a little bit of a curse because it has been really difficult to know when to quit, because there are times when you have just absolutely reached the end of the road. You've already written your ideas on paper. You've already tried to shift your perspective and say yes to all that you could say yes to when you're still not getting anywhere. And at the end of the day, like our lives, our careers, they do have clocks. That's not to say run your race in your own time, because you do
Hmm.
have a little more time than you always think you do. But
Right.
at the same time, you definitely don't want to be stuck in one spot for 30 years and then all of a sudden realize, oh, well, maybe I need to pivot when you should have pivoted like 20 years ago. And so that's one thing that comes up for me in this conversation. But the other thing that comes up for me in this conversation is that in the startup life in general, and you could definitely say the same in terms of like starting your brand as a musician, a content creator, what have you. People always want to be millionaires, but they don't always think about the fact that a lot of these millionaires had to file for bankruptcy multiple times before they became millionaires. A lot of these millionaires had to eat ramen noodles before they became millionaires. There's not a linear path that is easy to become financially stable, to gain the influence that you would like to touch other people's lives, to be able to cultivate the platform that you hope to cultivate. Like it is a very rough road. And I always find myself being reminded of that when I think about Renovere, because Renovere recording, me just going back to like the perfectionism of it all. Like I don't want anybody to look at me and think that, I'm failing or that I haven't got it off the ground or what have you. But then it's also at the same time, like, we all have to run our own race.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes it does take a little bit longer than others in order to really find your solid footing. And I've learned to be at peace with that, because it's like I would rather have the security and the solid footing in my mission now
Right.
than to be able to just start out of the gate and really grow and then get to that point that a lot of entrepreneurs and whatnot reach, where they look around and they're like, oh, I actually don't remember what I even sought out to do in the first place.
Hmm. The one jewel, I talk about my therapist a lot because I'm obsessed with her and I love her. But one jewel that she gave me was considering the source. This comes into play when you feel like people are talking about you or like what their judgment's going to be of you, but also when you're hearing the word no. When someone is turning you down, consider the source. Can they
Mm-hmm.
even fathom what you're doing? Are they even qualified to tell you your idea is not the best? You got to consider the source. And when you compartmentalize, I think people in situations like that, you know, I've I had one person, one company, one group, one funding group that was like they were on the line, and when it all like boiled down to it, I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, wait. I'm getting excited about them, continuing these conversations, but who are these people? Is this even going to move me forward? Are they even able to do that? Because once they fund me, they're not gonna have no more. So I'm gonna have to go through this again. And now I'm gonna have something three quarters built and I gotta do it again. Right. I fully relate to being like, well, fuck it. Like, all I hear is no, I'm not qualified for this. I'm not qualified for that. When we go to bed at night, you call it like a reset, or if you have a stressful situation happen and you want to kind of take a step back and think about it. Part of that reset should definitely be you analyzing what actually was negative about that interaction and try to look at what the positives were. Like I said, I was told no, but when you're ready to sell it, you let me know. They just told me no. My idea is fine. My idea is rocking. They didn't want me. That's their personal problem. That's some shit they got going on. Had nothing to do with what I'm bringing to the table. And it's not something easily that you can just. I'm not gonna pretend like you could just wake up the next day and be like, ah, what Aletha said make perfect sense, and now my life is fine. I'm gonna just go jump back in there and keep hearing these no's and keep getting punched in the face by people, telling me that I'm not ready yet, or this is not ready yet. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have this, you don't have that, you don't have that. Okay, well, I'll go get it. You help me get it. But it is a way that I think will keep some folks on the track. When people keep telling you no, do not let that turn off your light. Sometimes people tell you
Absolutely.
no to keep you behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is really unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
It's unfortunate, but there's hey, uh, you know, my grandmama used to always be like, "They making fun of me. They just jealous. They just jealous of you." She would always fill me with all these sweet little things that you want to tell kids but at the it probably was true. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they told me I had wild, crazy, curly hair as a kid. It looked messy. It's all why is it curly? Why does it look like that? Why doesn't it do this? Why doesn't it do that? Because your shit don't do that. You got one knocker, the top of your head, and sprouts coming out
ah,
of it, and you gonna tell me
ah.
I look crazy, bitch? You look crazy. You look like the lady on the Popeye. Remember the pothead people? What were they called?
Oh my gosh.
And these were the people that would give
Oh
me
my
the
gosh.
hardest time in school. She thinks she's cute. I am cute, motherfucker. You're not. That's your problem.
I know that's right. Oh my goodness.
That's your problem.
I, yes, I very much appreciate you coming on to the podcast. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but you and I have talked about in case of,
Yeah.
and I think that it is something that is very incredible. So I want to give you the floor if you want to talk about it, talk about your experience with it.
In case of it's a company idea that I had um, after spending so much time dealing with the death of my grandmother and then 7 weeks later the death of my mother. Grandmother, more expected. She was in her 90s. Um, she was, definitely declining in the woman that we grew up with. My mother, out of nowhere, was not definitely not on my bingo card of what was going to happen in 2021. So with that happening with such, you know, oh, requiring immediate response of her affairs. She owned her home, she owned her vehicle, she had a job, she was working. She's supposed to be at work that morning. I had to call her out, I guess not call her out sick, but I had to literally call her out dead that day. Like I had to call the school to tell them she won't be
Oh
there
my
today.
gosh.
And it's
Yeah.
little things like that that if being thrown into that position, we don't really prepare our loved ones for what if this happens to me? What if I find myself in this situation? And then earlier that year, I had my medical emergency. I had brain surgery twice. I was living by myself at the time in Detroit, and it was still COVID up in Detroit. So my mom could not
Mm-hmm.
come and help me. She had to figure out how to pay my rent. She had to figure out how to pay my insurance. She had to figure out how to make arrangements with my job. They were not working with her the way that they should have been. So The basis of the company is making sure that information is in one place and it's complete and it's consistent for people, your loved ones, that may have to step in case of an emergency. If you are someone like me where you are down for a few months, you know, and out the way, and you can't do things for yourself, someone is able to make sure that your life doesn't completely fall apart. If you are also someone like me and you lose a parent and they got a lot of shit and you got to figure out all of that shit. Gussie was a hoarder of financial accounts, and she had a financial planner that only knew about a few of them. She wasn't even telling
Oh,
him all the
wow.
business. So it literally took me, it
Yeah,
was year 3 after she died before I had her affairs sewn up. So I started thinking about how can I make it so that not only are people aware of what their loved ones have going on, but our people are aware of what a will is versus a trust. You don't have to be a millionaire
absolutely.
to have a will. You don't have to have $5 to have a will. What it means to make sure that we are being responsible with making sure folks are set up, or if they're not set up, I know what the debt is. I know what's going on with my aunt, my uncle, whatever, my medical needs, their medical needs, things like that. So it's really an app, a vault where that information can be stored. You have a trusted person or a trusted few people that will have access to that information in case something happens to you.
Absolutely. I wanted you to talk about this, and I want to be mindful of your time as well, but I definitely wanted you to talk about this before we wrap because I think that it is an incredible idea. You know that I ended up being in a caretaker position. I was in that position when I joined the company
Yeah.
where we met. And when even though my grandmother and I were incredibly close, there was a lot that um she ran out of time.
Yeah.
She knew that she had to get things on paper, but she ran out of time. And thankfully, my grandparents had already set up a trust. So a lot of like the bigger things, were taken care of, and that helped a lot. But it
Hmm.
was like it was the smaller things that unfortunately she just ran out of time to list on paper. And I remember her and I having several conversations. I told her, well, we'll sit down one day and we'll like hash everything out. Well, she ended up forgetting who she was before she was able to do that. And then it was all
Yeah.
downhill from there.
Yeah.
So I completely empathize with someone passing away. And then it's like you have to scramble and get things together. Another thing that people don't know is that, yeah, it's actually a lot easier than we think
Yes.
to set ourselves up for success. You could go to you could go to Office Depot. I didn't even realize this. I think I was in the store one day by happenstance. And it was in that how to like fill in the blank for dummies, that section where they keep all the books.
Yeah.
I looked down and I said, "No, you do not have a bootleg template to fill out a will." And
Yes.
it's like you could literally go to the store and spend $50 and just fill out that document and then go get it notarized. And it's like, no, you didn't, like you didn't spend the X amount to go to a lawyer, but like that document is still valid in the event that something happens. And let's say that you have family that don't see eye to eye and try to take you to probate court. Then you got this document that was notarized and be like, well,
Yeah.
they put it in writing. Like it's a lot easier. But I also love your idea because, again, it appeals to just where we are. Everything is on a screen, everything's either in your laptop, your iPad, your iPhone, or what have you.
Right.
And with everything being digitized, even our accounts with our different entities, our insurance, I mean, even working with an attorney,
Yeah.
everything is online. And when you told me this idea, I really am grateful for someone like you who is conceptualizing this because it's very important. And I'm really excited to see where Miss Aletha Green takes in case of.
I there are I have discovered I'd say four other companies that are close, very close to what 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 I want to build, what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
They're very close. And so the toughest hill for me to climb and the most expensive hill for me to climb has been trademarking.
Yeah.
Trademarking. And one thing I will say, um, folks that are thinking about getting into that space where you are in the realm of building out your idea, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it until you have met with a corporate attorney that specializes in patents and trademarks to
Mm-hmm.
protect your thoughts. That's really what they do. They protect your thoughts and keep it so that if somebody comes dangerously close to copying what you are building and they get it off the ground quicker than you do, you have some recourse you can take. But that would be my number
Absolutely.
one piece of advice is protect your shit first.
Absolutely. That's why I said I'm like, y'all will never know when Renovere will actually be until we are ready. You can look it up and all it is gonna say is tech. It doesn't say anything else, and y'all will not know what I'm going to do until it's time. It's really unfortunate. Like we live in a society you just cannot trust people. And it is I think that's part of the reason why I am taking my sweet time as well, is just, it's really hard to find people that you can trust,
Yes, yes.
um, because oftentimes we do need other people to help make these dreams come true. But also, you don't want to let somebody in and then tomorrow you wake up and then you have to sue somebody because they decided to take your idea and put it under a different name.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
woof. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Frequency Exchange. I always love talking to you, whether it is through text, whether we get to be in a Zoom and Kiki. I love hearing your perspective. You've been through a lot, you've seen a lot. And again, I am very excited about In Case of. Very curious and very happy to see where that is going.
It's always a pleasure speaking with you, London. It's always been a pleasure working with you. You have always been one of my favorites from the beginning. I think I saw something
Aw.
in you initially, and it's held true and held consistent. I'm very good at reading people. I always knew that there was something special there. So I'm so just not surprised, but still blown away by you all the time.
Even when I bothered you with 5011 questions, and you was probably like, "Can't you just read
I
it
love
in the
it.
article?"
I love it. When you're asking questions, that means you at least you listened. You listened to something because you had a question. You listened to stuff, so you hear me. I'm not wasting my time. That's how I know I'm not wasting my time. When people sit there, they don't have no questions. I'm like, okay, you didn't hear a word I said, or you didn't give a fuck.
Absolutely. Really, that part, yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And that's the final note, babes. You just listened to the Frequency Exchange. New episodes drop bi weekly on Wednesdays. You can follow, subscribe, comment, and share the Frequency Exchange on all major podcast and streaming platforms. Visit www.londonbeck.com/The Frequency Exchange and keep up with me, London Beck, at LNDNBCK on Instagram, The Frequency Exchange at The Frequency Exchange, no space, on Instagram, or follow us via the londonbeck.com newsletter. The Frequency Exchange is a production of Renevere Recording, and with yours truly as the executive producer. LNDNBCK,